Stepping into the confessional booth today,
Oh,
Mr. John Cowan.
forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
Well,
Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. Hey, you go first. You go first. What are you most bitterly ashamed of?
oh no, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, there's. How much time have you got, John?
I always tell people when I'm interviewing them on Sunday nights,
Yeah,
oh, look, it's a very friendly interview. I just start off with, what are you most bitterly ashamed of?
yeah.
And it's just lovely seeing the color drain from their faces.
It's
Of course, I
yeah.
don't ask that.
It could be a
But I do have a
podcast.
couple of
It
things
could be a
I'd like to get off my
podcast,
chest.
actually. John Cowan, bitterly ashamed. I think that's a great podcast series. Let's kick it off with today. And honestly, I mean, jokes aside, there are all things
Mm,
that we say, you know what, I wish I was a better person than that.
mm.
I certainly like to present myself as a better person than that, but actually we know that we are still a work in progress. There's two things in particular that you're wanting to put the finger on, and honestly, John, you saying this of yourself, but I know there'll be a lot of people that will be agreeing and going, you know what, if
Yeah.
I'm honest, that's me as well.
I remembered this week an ad that I saw years and years ago. I think it was in a Reader's Digest. It was a clever ad. It was a picture of a cigar butt and an ashtray with the caption, left by someone who wasn't here,
Oh,
which doesn't make much sense, except it was an ad for a commercial cleaning company. And
ah.
the dirty ashtray had been left by, obviously, a cleaner who hadn't been there. Now, some years ago, my wife's health took a serious dip.
Yeah.
And all sorts of things started to happen around the house, or rather, they didn't happen, mysteriously. Clean clothes didn't appear in my drawers or in my wardrobe, and the floors got grimy, and
Wow.
the pantry stopped working. There was always used to be food there, and it kept on running out of food. And yeah, it was someone wasn't there. My wife wasn't doing the things she had been doing for decades. And
Yeah.
as I started to pick up more and more of the housework, it started to dawn on me everything that my wife had been doing. And in that dawn light, it occurred to me that I should express some acknowledgement and gratitude for that. And that
Hmm.
was appreciated, because with my hand on my heart, I can say that I've always been an outspoken defender of gender equality.
Yep.
And I thought myself a genuine ally of women against stale sexist stereotypes. I even say women rather than woman. That's a language thing we could talk about. But
Yeah.
anyhow, and yet a simple observation of what I was doing in my home would actually cast serious doubt on my pro-feminist credentials while I'm spouting out my women and pro-women, pro-feminist stuff. My wife was doing the housework in the background.
Wow.
And so I could argue that when the kids were little and we had three little ones at home and I was out of the house working all day, our division of labor made some sort of sense.
Yep.
Well, it used to, but the thing is, we never revisited those roles until we were forced to.
Mm.
And my wife became unable to do a lot of the things she did. And so, if that definition of integrity is that does your external behavior line up with your internal values, I have to plead guilty of hypocrisy.
Mm.
I make the right noises, but don't do the right actions. And so, maybe I could give you excuses. I was brought up in the 1960s when our reading books, our Janet and John reading books
I
had,
remember Janet and John. Yeah.
mother doing cooking and dad was out there smoking his pipe and working on the car,
Yeah.
and, these male stereotypes are pretty deeply entrenched.
Yeah.
But
Is it though?
my,
Is lack of awareness an excuse on this one? That as soon as you became aware that there was a problem, that your values didn't match the external appearance, it was like,
mm,
oh gosh, here's a problem here, and you moved to fix it. Uh,
I, I think it's an essential first step.
yeah, yeah.
It then took
I,
quite a bit of
I mean,
effort,
lack of awareness,
to actually bring it up to.
ignorance isn't an
Yeah,
excuse in some ways, but you don't know what you don't know, and not knowing is better than not caring, I suppose.
I guess so. Yes, I'll thank you for giving me a little bit of an emollient to my guilty soul. But while I'm self-flagellating, I better confess to another area.
Yeah.
I am and have been for decades a decided anti-racist.
Okay.
But parts of me have been very slow to hear that decision, meaning, you know, philosophically, ethically, morally, what I espouse very much modern views about race and equality and all that.
Yep.
But I have to say that there is something at a gut level that doesn't make me feel comfortable when I'm in a Maori context or with other races.
Hmm.
And, and if, to be honest, if I'm walking down a dark street and I see in the shadows a group of people walking towards me, how relieved am I when I see them when they walk under a streetlight and see that they're not Maori?
Wow.
Now that's a terrible thing for a
Yep.
person. And my grandmother was Maori,
Wow.
so I
Yeah.
feel bitterly ashamed about that instinct to be slightly afraid of people that are a bit different from me.
Mm.
And I am ashamed of it, but I've spoken to enough people to know that this is far from unusual.
Yeah.
And can I say I haven't completely squared up on that one, but it's one that I have consciously tried to panel beat
Yeah.
my attitudes to line up with my convictions. And I've done this by deliberately disobeying those fears and instinctive prejudices.
Mm.
And I've chosen to put myself into contexts where I've been working closely with Maori over the years
Yeah.
and other races. And it's provided me with some of my richest and most delightful experiences. I did a lot of work with Maori in Northland when I lived up there, and I did courses in Te Reo, and I did courses on learning about the Maori world. And for years, I worked creating Maori programs, parenting programs with Maori, and that took me onto marae up and down the country. I've been on scores of marae now,
Yeah.
and it's allowed me to form relationships that have really changed me. Now, a lot of the time that I've spent on marae, I've felt about as comfortable as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. There's still bits of me that are very, very Pākehā.
Yeah.
And but I'd have to claim that I've got a wee bit more integrity of my outside behavior lining up a little bit more with my stated values.
Mm.
And so,
Is it
yeah,
just a matter, John? Sorry to interrupt here, but is it just a matter of being more conscious of our unconscious bias? Because it
I
sounds like the
guess,
journey that you've gone on is one of saying,
yep.
hey, recognizing that there's a bit of a blind spot here,
Mm,
recognizing that my own scales are tipped in the direction of prejudice. Let's just be conscious of that and perhaps compensate, tip the scales
yeah,
in the different correction. And again, not giving you an excuse or me an excuse for my own unconscious bias, but it is
mm,
difficult to attend to a problem or to change a bias when we're not
yeah.
aware of it, or perhaps we purposefully put blinkers on and just say, oh no, I'm not racist, I'm not sexist, no problem here.
I guess so. I mean, it sounds like a bit of a process here to get to where we really want to be. I mean,
Yeah,
there is the changing of your mind to agree with something being right. That races are equal, that men and women should be in a respectful equality as well.
yep.
Changing. Intellectually accepting it.
Hmm.
Then the recognition of it that you say that, hey, I've got unconscious biases here, but then even after that's not enough.
Yeah.
It takes years and years, I think, to then um, rework the grooves
Yeah.
in your behavior. Your mind gets grooves where you fall into it. You're on the right path now, but it takes years before that path becomes a comfortable one that you just automatically follow.
And so easy to
And
fall
yeah,
back into those old patterns, those old habits and ways of being. With
that's right. And
yeah,
so, yeah, and so I guess the thing I'd like people to take away from this, not only just analyzing your own deeper, reflexes and instincts, and if you espouse something, why aren't you acting in a better in a way that lines up with it?
yeah,
More than that, have a bit of patience with yourself and with others, because it takes years and years. And I certainly recall that from doing counseling and pastoral work with people that, oh, yes, they may have been wonderfully converted to a new way of thinking, but they might take years before their behavior lines up with that.
yeah,
And they're trying.
yeah.
I'm not saying that they're not trying. I'm just saying it takes years. And so emotional grooves and patterns of behavior get laid down very deeply in our psyches and are very resistant to change. But you know what? They're worth changing.
Yeah.
It might be struggles of anger or appetite or attitudes to media or the relationship, how affectionate you are in your relationships. And you know what you're wanting to do,
Yeah.
but you have to be patient with yourself and perhaps patient with others while those changes accumulate and gradually become the lifelong patterns that you really want them to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Still a
hang
work
in there. You're on the right track.
Exactly. Still a work in progress, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, if I live to about 180, I might be a quarter of the way there. But
all the best with that, John. Thank you so much.
Hey, more confessions next week if you like.
Exactly. It'd be my turn to reciprocate with the things I'm deeply ashamed of. John, appreciate what you bring to the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Cheers, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.